Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective, with pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Saturday, November 13th, Ian Cameron, Andrew McInnis will be with me momentarily as well. We are ready for another massive Saturday NHL card. Lots of action on tap, a massive slate, 13 games altogether in the NHL tonight. We will get it started right here, right now, with the lone matinee affair taking place today. The Boston Bruins and the New Jersey Devils. We've got Boston currently minus 145 to minus 150 road favorites in this game. The total 5.5 pretty much across the board in this one. The Boston Bruins, a team that we know, we've talked about this. It's been a theme, certainly with Jimmy Murphy, who of course follows and covers this team year round, that the Boston Bruins defensively have had some issues. They've had their problems. And it has played out that way, especially against some of the better offensive teams that they've gone up against. We've seen Boston give up 5 goals to Edmonton, 5 goals to Toronto, two very prolific, capable offensive teams, and that has definitely been a problem for the Bruins in recent games. We'll see how they fare here today. Jeremy Swayman, Jonathan Bernier will be the goalie tonight for the this afternoon, I should say, for the New Jersey Devils. Jeremy Swayman for the Bruins. You look at this Devils team, man, they're playing some good hockey. 3 straight wins against San Jose, Florida, and a shutout against the New York Islanders. Extremely impressive from the New Jersey Devils in those games. A shutout from Mackenzie Blackwood in that game, who's actually looked pretty good, returning in between the pipes here for the Devils. We'll see how this one shakes out. But last year, these teams obviously played each other quite a bit with these two teams, being in the same division in the schedule. You only played inside your own division last year because of the pandemic. And last year, these teams played each other 8 times during the regular season, 6-2 to the under in those games. But I would only look at the over, personally, in this game. We've talked about this with the Bruins. They look like they're a bit of an over team at the moment with their defensive struggles. I've been impressed that with no Jack Hughes and Miles Wood, the Devils have managed their way to score a grand total of 14 goals in their last 3 games. And, they put up a 7 spot on a very good Florida team and a 4 spot on obviously a defensive-minded, solid, structured New York Islanders team. So Devils are finding the back of the net right now, and they've done it with other guys stepping up. Andreas Janssen, among others, has really been someone that's stepped up offensively. Someone's got to when you're without a guy like Jack Hughes in the lineup. That's been impressive to see from the Devils. He has 6 goals. Pavel Zacha has 6 goals. Dougie Hamilton from the blue line. Dawson Mercer, all of a sudden, for the New Jersey Devils. Keep an eye on this guy. He's just a youngster. He's just getting his feet wet in the National Hockey League. 18th overall pick in 2020. He scored a goal against the Islanders. So they're getting contributions from other sources right now, New Jersey. And I think we get this game to go over the total here. Early afternoon game, 5.5 being the total. I'm on Bruins Devils over 5.5 here in this game. All right, the rest of the games are at night. Florida, Tampa Bay is next up. Tampa Bay, even money here, minus 110, minus 115. Total 5.5 here, shaded to the over in this game. It should be interesting to see how this one goes. The Panthers, we backed them against Pittsburgh. I stayed off them a couple of times there this week against the Rangers and Devils. Tried to back them on Thursday night against Pittsburgh. Bounce back spot. I thought they played a lot better. And even though they didn't get the winning result, they lost in a shootout 3-2. They did play a better game, and we'll see if they can keep some momentum from that game, because I thought certainly they were better than they were against the Devils and the Rangers prior to that. So it was a step in the right direction for Florida, but obviously still unable to get the victory in that game. Still battling, too, with a couple of injuries as well. Minor injuries. It's Nudavar on the blue line and Marchment as well, but we'll see if Florida can pick themselves up off the mat here against Tampa Bay. It's worth noting, too, Florida and Tampa Bay, this will be the first meeting since October 19th. They played once this year, and Florida won that game very impressively, 4-1. We'll see if the Lightning maybe have some redemption in their sights here in this game. I'm going to look over the total in this game, 5.5 minus 120. You're seeing the Panthers did play better defensively against Pittsburgh, but it's going to be a different task altogether going up against this Lightning team. It's been absolutely outstanding. But by the way, the Panthers right away, and Sam Bennett returning from injuries, huge from them. Anthony Duclair's been good. Alex Barkov has just been outstanding for Florida. So goal scoring is not the issue for them. It's been defending. And when you look at the series history between these two teams, we've seen more overs than not. You're looking at 11-7 over the total the last 18 regular season meetings here between the Panthers and the Lightning. So we'll see. I mean, it's one of those situations where now that Florida continues to just find ways to lose. Like I said, I like their team game a lot better against Pittsburgh than the previous two nights, but they unfortunately still fell short on the scoreboard. I want to maybe back away, see if this team gets that victory, and then maybe goes back on a run. And then again, when the last time these teams played, Florida beat Tampa Bay 4-1 in this building, and I don't think the Lightning took too kindly to that. So you'd expect the Lightning to be ready to show up here for this game, especially with them having not played since dropping that game to Carolina early this week, 2-1 in overtime. So I'm off the side, but I do lean over given that series history, 11 overs in the last 18 head-to-heads with the Panthers and the Lightning. And again, the Panthers' issue isn't offense right now. It's keeping the puck out of their own net. So we'll lean to the over in that one. We've got Andrew McGinnis with us. Andrew, we've talked about the first two games, the afternoon game, Boston, New Jersey, and Tampa Bay, Florida. What are your thoughts on those two games?
Yeah, I mean, the first game I don't really have too much on. I think I've told you before, I don't really love betting afternoon games. Let's have a really, really strong opinion on it. I kind of wanted to look towards an under in that game, but just we're seeing Jonathan Bernier for the Devils versus Jeremy Swayman, and I don't know. I think that we could have still a look at the under in this game, and I think to the points that Jimmy has made, both teams really want to be really defensive and work on things defensively. As the Bruins, they didn't start the year off being an over team, but they've kind of progressed towards that. But that's kind of where I would look towards is an under, and potentially if maybe just starting the game off with the first period under. The second game you mentioned, Ian, is something I have more of a stronger opinion on. Excuse me. And I think it's going to be an interesting game. Obviously, I actually wrote an article about this game last night, and I think it's kind of a new rivalry, the Sunshine State battle. We saw what happened in the playoffs last year, and rivalries are usually built off, where you're from, but also being competitive, right? And I think we know there's a revenge factor, like you mentioned, for Tampa Bay coming into this game. We know how great Tampa Bay can be at home, but I don't know. I think that sometimes you look at a team, they drop a game like the Panthers did, then they lose two more after that. You don't want to necessarily get behind them right after that first loss, but you want to find a spot where potentially they'll get right back at it. And I think we can both agree they'll be up for this game. They'll be ready to go for this game. And I think it's time for all of us to really face the fact that Tampa Bay is not the same team they were last year. They lost their entire third line. They've got no Kucherov. They've got a lot more pressure on some top guys to do the scoring. And they rely heavily on their big D-core and Vasilevsky to keep them in games defensively. And I'm not saying that saying that they're a bad hockey team, because we know how great they are. But Florida right now is in a position where they have to bounce back. I mean, a subpar performance against Pittsburgh. They end up losing that one in a shootout. Before that, giving up 7 goals to the Devils. This is a spot here for them to get right. And I think it's actually a statement game for them, because I mean, if Tampa Bay gets revenge on them, Florida drops 4 straight, all of a sudden this team that we thought was so elite maybe isn't as special as we thought they were. So I'm on Florida. I think they're going to step up today, get the job done, and trying to have a way better defensive performance. Looking at a 3-2, 4-2 game here for Florida.
All right, liking Florida one more time, see if they can finally snap this skid for Andrew. Pittsburgh, Ottawa. We've got Pittsburgh minus 140, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. I don't love the fact that Casey DeSmith's in net. He's been kind of rough in his 2 starts, and that's putting it mildly. But I'm still going to go ahead with Pittsburgh for something in this game from a betting standpoint. Ottawa's just beating the shit because of this COVID situation, and they're having a really tough time fielding a proper NHL lineup right now.
Yep.
Let's be honest. I mean, they've got guys that don't belong in the NHL that are playing games for them right now because of this COVID situation, and they're struggling mightily. They get blanked by the Kings, and that's another thing too. Ottawa's struggling to find the back of the net the more this COVID situation has unfolded. Their offense has dried up, 6 straight losses. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, the 3-2 win against Florida in a shootout, even with the guys they've got out, Crosby, Malkin, Ruido, Dumoulin on the blue line. Jari now out for this game is not just because of not injury related, but just giving him a rest. He's going to play the Washington game tomorrow instead. Even with DeSmith and net, there's no back in Ottawa for me right now. Not with this depleted, shorthanded team just beaten up by this COVID-19 outbreak. So for me, it's Pittsburgh. I'll lay the $1.40. It'll be a medium-sized bet, not a big one. But to me, it's I was on LA the other night against Ottawa, just thinking the same thing. It's hard for them to compete right now. And I think Penguins can get the job done here against this depleted Senators bunch. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, another under I like here, Ian. You look at an Ottawa team that, like you said, depleted with COVID issues, and that game against the LA Kings, that was a game I leaned on the under, but just couldn't quite get to the window, and I was kind of frustrated with myself because we saw what happened in that game. Obviously, if you back the Kings, you had success as well, but Pittsburgh's a team I think I've told you before I've struggled to go against. I was against them the other night. I thought it was a short road price in favor of Florida, but I mean, this team has created a whole identity without their star players even being in the lineup, with Dumoulin being out. But I think as time progresses, we even saw that game against Florida, for the most part, was actually a pretty good defensive game as well. So with all the problems going on for Ottawa, I'm expecting them to really kind of change some strategies and tactics that way and adjust accordingly. So I'm looking at an under in this game.
All right, like in the under there. Montreal, Detroit. Detroit, -115 to -120. Home favorites, 5.5 the total. Shaded to the under in this game. One of the best, most complete games of the year for Montreal by far. Beating Calgary the other night. Much needed. It felt like, geez, the roof was caving in on this team, and they're still in a big hole. Like that's not satisfactory enough to just say, hey, we finally won a game. We can exhale now. No, they got to go on a serious win streak if they're going to try to get back in the chase here. 4-11. They've dug themselves a big hole. They got to try to get out of it. The good news is they're playing a team that this is the one team they've been able to beat consistently this year. The Detroit Red Wings here for this Montreal team. So they got the right team here. Detroit off a 2-0 shutout loss to Washington the other night. I would probably lean Montreal here just because they've had the success against Detroit. You got to try to go on a run at some point. The one issue is look at this Detroit team, this Montreal team all year. 6-1 against Detroit, lose the next game. Beat San Jose 4-0, lose the next game. Beat Detroit 3-0, lose the next game. There's been no follow-up. They win a game, and there's been no follow-up performance to say, let's get on a run. Let's turn one win into 2 or 3 or 4. They've always taken one step forward and 2 big steps back. They have not been able to string wins together, the Canadiens. But they're facing a team they've beaten twice already. If ever they're going to do it, it's tonight. So I don't love it. Don't think I'll bet the game, to be honest, but we'll lean to Montreal. Andrew, what do you think?
It seems like it's kind of a totals day for me here, but I like the over in this game, over 5.5. I think that we've seen Detroit play better at home, and we've seen Montreal get the struggles that they've had defensively, and just kind of hoping they can build off some of the success they've had. Suzuki getting things going, even Toffoli starting to create lots of stuff. Gallagher's kind of up to his old tricks. We're starting to see kind of some more stuff out of the whole lineup, which has been nice. And I don't know. The thing about the defensemen, Ben Sherratt jumping into the rush, Weidman, some of these guys jumping into the rush, it's impressive for me. And as a fan and a bettor, I like it, Ian. But at the same time, we all know what happens when defensemen jump into the rush. It leads to odd man rushes the other way. So I think Detroit gets some of their own, and I think Montreal finds the net themselves as well. So whether it's early in the game or late in the game, I think we're going to see some goals in this one. But I'm with you on the Habs. I mean, and I haven't come on this show as a Habs fan that much and said I like the Habs this year, but it's, if anything, it'd be kind of a price bet. I mean, we're getting a decent price here, looking for a season sweep, against a team that you've practically have owned. And it's pretty much the only team they've done anything to. convincingly this year. So, but I do like that over. What are your thoughts on the over there?
In Detroit, it's trended over with these two teams, 5-1 in the last 6 meetings in Detroit. So I'm kind of with you there. And we saw 6-1 earlier this. Now it was 3-0 the last time they played, and
Yeah.
Montreal really looked to tighten it up. But they were tightening it up after a game where they gave up a lot of goals. They're coming off a win against Calgary. You could see them being a little bit looser. They're not really as focused on that. Oh, we got to tighten it up defensively in this game, maybe, as they were in that 3-0 shutout that they had against Detroit the last time they played them. So I don't hate it. I don't mind the over there in that Montreal-Detroit game tonight. We'll see who's in net here for Detroit, because they've been going back and forth for the last few games. But, for a Canadian standpoint, in terms of props, Suzuki's a consideration because he's been a point producer lately for the Montreal Canadiens. Maybe Toffoli now, too, finally getting off the schneid, gets him going a little bit. So maybe you buy low on these guys now that they've finally seen a puck or two go in. Maybe look at them goal scorer props.
And it's
by the way, we hit with Kasha. I didn't think we were going to get Kasha last night for Toronto, but he was credited for that tying goal because he tipped it in, the Nylander shot against Calgary. So I got my Kasha goal scorer prop there at an absolutely terrific price. So good to see that.
What a fun way to hit a bet like that, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Especially at plus 400. I mean, it was just an absolutely outstanding price there. And keep an eye on Kasha, like I said. And we'll get to Toronto. Obviously, they're playing tonight, but he's 5th in the team in shots on goal behind the big four. And the puck's going to start going in at least a little bit more than it has so far. That was only his 3rd goal last night. So he's the value goal scorer prop guy on that Toronto team right now. Rangers and Jackets. We've got the Rangers minus 135. Road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game, Rangers and Jackets. It's definitely been up and down for the New York Rangers. Columbus is on a back-to-back. They lost to the Washington Capitals last night by a score of 4-3. Washington, another goal for Alexander Ovechkin, by the way. We'll see how the Rangers fare here. 4-3 win over Florida. Both of these teams in the short term have trended over, believe it or not. 3 straight overs for the Rangers, 4 straight overs for the Columbus Blue Jackets. But it's been an under series history head-to-head with these two teams. 5 straight unders head-to-head with the Rangers and the Blue Jackets. And to be honest with you, you've got the 2 superior goalies in net for these teams. You're going to have Shesterkin likely for the Rangers and Elvis Merzlikins for Columbus. And the reason I like Washington team total over and the full game over last night in that Capitals-Jackets game is because of Korpisalo. And we saw it. He's the worst of the 2 goalies. They gave up some goals. It's not as likely going to be as easy for the Rangers tonight against Merzlikins. Has really good numbers this year. So it's an interesting game. I still think the Rangers are the better squad here. I'd lean to them at minus 130. They haven't played since that Florida win early in the week, and you wouldn't know they won the game if you listened to Gallant after the game. He said, this is just not good enough the 3rd period. We were on our heels. Florida just came at us in waves, and we're lucky they didn't tie the game. So I'd expect the Rangers to have a better effort after what their coach says. And they are, I still think, the better of these 2 teams. So we'll lean a little bit, maybe a small play for me, Rangers minus 130 in this one. What do you like here, Andrew?
I actually passed this game in. I lean towards the under here. Couldn't pick a side. I think it should be a good hockey game, though.
Yes, it should be. LA Kings, Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg minus 170. Home favorites here, 5.5 the total in this one. How about those Los Angeles Kings? A perfect 3-0 on this Canadian road trip. Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa. And that is now 7 in a row for the LA Kings entering this game. I'm taking a shot with LA here. I mean, and I like Winnipeg, but I like the way the Kings are playing. They're finding ways to win. We mentioned it. Adrian Kempe, Alex Iafallo, and even Kopitar. These are guys you want to keep an eye on in terms of goal scorer props, because these are the guys that have been getting it done lately for the LA Kings in terms of goal scoring. So I just think in this particular game, they're going to keep this one relatively close here with the Winnipeg Jets. And again, the Winnipeg Jets, you've seen their last 3 games. They beat San Jose 4-1, but prior to that, they lost at home in a shootout to St. Louis, lost 2-0 to the Islanders. And the Kings are playing a frustrating style right now. They're playing really solid defensively. The goaltending from both the Peterson and even Jonathan Quick. Jonathan Quick, this is about as good as he's looked the last couple starts he's made, as I've seen from him in a long time. He looks revitalized. He looks reinvigorated, and he's playing quite well for the Kings right now. So, sometimes you got to take a shot with a big dog every now and then, and you're talking about a big dog that's won 7 in a row. and has found ways to win here. So I got to take a nibble on the LA Kings here at this price. Andrew, Kings Jets.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the Don Juan in our live chat. He was kind of giving me some crap about how on the season so far I've given some I've said some harsh things about the Philadelphia Flyers, and they've definitely proven me wrong. The LA Kings, I'd say they have to be a team that's proved me wrong as well, Ian. They're a team that I think is. We all thought they would be better this year. We all thought they'd have some, potential. And I know Jimmy was pretty high on them as far as upset worthy, but yeah, they've done well. And I think they actually have goal scoring capability. I know this is going to sound biased saying this, but getting Philip Deneau, I think you said it as well, has really helped them as well because he's a great defensive forward, 200-foot player. I actually have a lean towards the over in this game. I do like the Kings just like yourself at a really, really good price. But I think we'll see some goals in this one. I think that Winnipeg is going to start trending more towards the over. I think that they've been playing some sloppy hockey. I haven't really been too impressed. And if you look back into the early part of the season, they had to come back in a lot of games, or a lot of the first periods were going over for them. They were kind of getting off to bad starts. So, with only a 5.5 as a total, I feel like we could get over here tonight on Saturday with the Kings and Jets.
Yeah, there's some really strong series history that's against you there, but 7-1 to the under in the last 8 meetings with the Kings and the Jets. But hey,
different Kings team though in those games.
Yep, they are. There's definitely scoring. I don't hate it, but yeah, the series history definitely scary. And the way the Kings are defending right now and the goaltending.
How often do these teams play? Like, I mean, look back to even last year. If we had the Kings team of last year go head to head against the Kings team of this year, I think this team wins not, a lot of those battles. You know what I mean? I think this team's much better than they were last year, evidently.
Yeah, there is no doubt about that. And even I'm trying to see current form wise. You're right. Winnipeg started out the year gangbusters to the over at home, and now it's 3 straight unders at home. And for the Kings, they've gone under 5 of their last 6. So that's the only thing that concerns me about that one. Toronto Buffalo, we've got Toronto minus 190 road favorites, 6 the total, shaded to the under in this one. The Leafs, that was. James Duthie has no clue what he's talking about in the post game after that Flames-Leafs game. I mean, I think he says something just to be funny and get people talking because he thinks he's funny, and half the time he isn't.
Well, he's the host. He's not really the analyst. He's the host.
Yeah. I mean, to say something moronic after that game, because I watched a great deal of that game last night, to say something as stupid as, for the first 2 periods, that game didn't look like a game worthy of the legends that were in the building for the Hockey Hall of Fame night there. Did you watch the first 2 periods, guy? It was up and down the ice. It was back and forth. It was tons of chances. It was a lot of pace. I know there was no goals, and I'm sick of this notion that there's no goals in the game, it can't be a good game. I mean, that's insane.
I'm with you on that for sure. Yeah. And I feel like this doesn't apply to him, but I'll tell you, a lot of the newer hockey fans on Twitter, they'll complain about games that are like 2-1. It's like, oh my God, this team should have like 8 goals already. It's like, look,
what a bad hockey game. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Tons of chances, great pace, up and down the ice, terrific goaltending from both Jack Campbell and Dan Vladar in that game last night. That was great hockey, even in the first 2 periods.
And what did I say to you yesterday, Ian? I said that it's time we give respect to the Toronto Maple Leafs defense, and maybe they're turning into a mediocre under team for the time being. And
I don't know if that under is going to be tonight, though, and I do lean to the over here tonight. Joseph Wall, I don't know if he's a Jack Campbell in the making. I'm not sure about that, but he will make his Leafs debut here tonight in this one. And look, Buffalo's scoring some goals. And last night's game with Edmonton, frustrating because I had the over, and man, Tokarski played just terrific.
Weird game for the over, man. Weird game for the over. Lots of chances.
2 goals disallowed early in the game, and that could have easily swayed it to the over. And look, there's pressure on the under, and I'm thinking this total might see 5.5 start to pop up because it's 6 shaded to the under right now. I'm leaning I will be on the over probably in this game. Back-to-back too, a lot of energy in that exerted in that game by the Leafs against Calgary last night. You could see that defense, as good as they've been with, Joseph Wall, who just hasn't faced too many, been in the NHL all that much. It could be a little bit of a situation where the Leafs score. And look, I'm reading things where for the Buffalo Sabres, after Tokarski was in net last night for them, we could be looking at, and with Craig Anderson day to day, we could be looking at our old friend, Farmer in the Dell, Aaron Dell here for the Buffalo Sabres tonight. And if you remember him from San Jose, he was never someone I was anxious to bet on in between the pipes. So
and usually
I'm
you lead
definitely
with that
leaning
joke
hard
as
to the
well.
over here. Yeah. No doubt. So I'm leaning hard to the over. We'll see who's in net for Buffalo, but that's where I'm leaning here. Andrew, Leaf Sabres.
Yeah, I mean, well, one thing that's funny too, I have to update the number. I believe it's now 17 of the last 19 goals for the Maple Leafs have been scored by the Big Four. That's a lot. I mean, that's a big number. But hats off to you. I mean, one of those goals that wasn't by those top guys goes to your betting account, cashing that plus 400. And it doesn't matter if you cashed in, they changed the goal or anything. You catch the ticket, and then sometimes I try and pick out games where I feel like we'll see some depth of scoring. And I feel like those are actually the games that we will see overs for the Maple Leafs. We're not going to see overs for the Leafs this year if it's only that Big Four scoring. That's kind of what I believe. I think the games where we start seeing the secondary players get on the board, and then later in the game, Marner or Tavares find the back of the net too, then all of a sudden we're looking at 3, 4, 5 goals for one team. And I think this is a game to really look at that. Yesterday's game is so indicative for Buffalo of it's you guys, the expression, Ian, like right side play as far as a side goes. I mean, your overplay was a right side total. You know what I mean? Like it lost, but that's one you can't really feel bad about. You can't really be upset with yourself about. And when you look at this Buffalo team, I think I was saying this yesterday on the show. They're a team that is giving up goals. I mean, it's 5 against San Jose, 5 against Seattle, 4 against Detroit, 5 against Washington. And again, we're talking about expected goals and all the analytics. That game against Edmonton, they should have given up a couple. Like if not, 3 or 4 goals, not just 2. So the back-to-back, I'm not saying that the reason why I like this over is because of the back-to-back, but I feel like that does help here. And as far as the what's his Wool, right? Him being in there for the Maple Leafs, it's the kind of situation where I look at this goaltender and I look at the situation for him. He's playing behind a great goaltender in Campbell, and he's playing behind a team that's actually played pretty well defensively right now. And lately, when I've been coming on this show, I've been saying that, hey, let's give some credit to these guys that are coming up, making their debuts. Because a lot of times this year and last year even, a lot of goaltenders making their debuts have had really good success. And it's because the players around them know it's their debut. The coaching staff knows it's their debut. And I believe wholeheartedly that the players play differently because they know who's back there and who's behind them. But I think that there are some guys that can score on Buffalo. We saw it yesterday. And I think that we will see a little bit of some more defensive mistakes than we saw yesterday from the Maple Leafs. So over is a good play here. And I think that if what we saw yesterday from Buffalo in the first period isn't indicative of what we could see tonight, let's remind people that the Oilers have played some great hockey, but the Maple Leafs have some great talented players as well. And I know that you believe in this stuff too, Ian. Matthew scoring that game winner in overtime. I don't care if you score a first period goal or an overtime goal. Getting on the board, you feel good. Who needs to wait and rest the day? These guys are young. I think that it's almost a good thing he scored that OT winner. He'll transition that into today's game.
All right, yeah, it's I definitely am. By the way, the over starting to, it was 6 shaded to the under, and now it's over minus. So there's the over's money's coming in on this Leafs Sabres game as we speak. So I think people are seeing, it could be a Wool versus Dell goalie matchup as well here in this game. And look, Sabres, and by the way, huge over series history as well in Buffalo. A lot 8-1, I believe, to the over the last 9 in Buffalo. Lots of 6-4, 5-3. Type of games, Leafs and Sabres, especially in Buffalo. So definitely that favors goals being scored in this game as well. All right, St. Louis, Carolina. Carolina minus 135, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. It was just one of those spots yesterday with the Flyers beating Carolina 2-1 where you've been around long enough. Carolina's been off for a few days, feeling good about the big win, the revenge win against Tampa Bay. Philly coming in struggling off a shutout loss, knowing they're probably going to bring a focused effort. And it just felt like it could be one of those games. Philly steals it And that's exactly what happened. Flyers with the 2-1 win in that game against the Hurricanes. Hurricanes looking to bounce back here. Second night of back-to-backs for them, but no travel, which definitely limits the concern about this situation, the scheduling spot, if you will, for the Hurricanes. And the Hurricanes, for a long time, been one of the best teams in the NHL in terms of second night of back-to-back games. 27-8 the last 35 on the second night of back-to-back games. I'm leaning to Carolina here. They have not lost 2 games in a row yet this year. They've been a good bounce-back team, and it's not like they played terrible last night. Carter Hart was excellent. They had 40 shots on goal. I think they can bounce back here at home against St. Louis. It's been one of those series histories with these two teams head-to-head where the home teams won every game pretty much for the most part. So you look at it, Carolina looking to keep it going here in this one. Blues have actually done well head-to-head against Carolina, 5-1 the last 6 meetings between these two teams overall. But Carolina, even with the back-to-back, I think there's a chance they can get this win. The problem is, the one thing that does concern me, because even though I lean this toward Carolina, is we may not see Freddie Anderson tonight. We might see the backup goalie for the Hurricanes. And right now, that would be Alex Lyon, because I believe Antti Raanta is still in concussion protocol, battling with a concussion. So we could see Alex Lyon, who was with the Flyers organization previously. If it's Lyon, I might veer to the over in this game. If it's Anderson again, then I'll probably like the Carolina side a little bit more. So we'll see how this one goes in this one. But right now, I lean Carolina. If it's Freddie Anderson, I lean over. If it's Alex Lyon in net in this Blues-Canes game. Andrew, what do you think here?
It's funny. Whenever I hear Alex Lyon, I just think about Mid-Major Matt always mentioning you and I on Twitter just to make fun of Alex Lyon for when
just
he
to vent his rage about how bad of a goal he just let in. Yeah.
Just anytime we saw him starting, pretty much, it was just like, hey, no, I pretty much have the exact same thoughts as you. I do think that game should. Let me just pull up what I had here. I think that game should be closer than people think it will be. But I can't really get to the window on it, but I wanted to pick a side, but I think, but either way, we're going to see some goals in this one. That's kind of the way I'm looking. And after what we saw yesterday, and the jokes I got for not giving respect to a Philadelphia team, I think we could see some goals in this one. I'm starting to look more into back-to-backs per each team and not just look at it as a general statement. But I think that we've seen this team not only just go over on back-to-backs or go over, some teams go over because they make defensive mistakes and they play sloppy. Some teams just go over because they score and they bounce back big. And I feel like that's what we're going to see here. So, and with a lot of 5.5s, remember there was a year, Ian, 2 years ago where we were seeing a bunch of 6.5s, and now we're seeing more 5.5s were almost a rarity. And now they're kind of returned a little bit. And I feel like if we keep getting 5.5s with this team, I'll keep looking towards the over in certain spots that I like here. So 2 teams looking to put the puck in the net. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I would be surprised if they go Freddie Anderson a little bit, Alan, but maybe not as much when you consider who the alternative is. It's Alex Lyon, or it would have been Raanta if he was healthy, but Ranta's not been great the last year or so. But that's why it'll be interesting to see where Brind'Amour goes in terms of his goaltender. All right, we'll get to the rest of the card in just a sec, but got to mention DraftKings, our great sponsors here at the Ice Guys and the Hockey Podcast Network. The NHL season is here. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Unbelievable offer to celebrate the greatest sport on ice. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. Doesn't matter if it's a one-timer, a deflection, a breakaway, a 2-on-1. However they score, you win. If the DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, don't worry. You can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Throw down $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. This week, one puck in the net nets you a big win with promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. All right, let's move on to Arizona and Nashville. Nashville minus 300. Home favorites, 5.5 shaded to the under in this one. I'm going to do the old Jimmy Murphy loves doing this, and I'm doing it now. The old swipe sign. It's like I'm swiping. I got an ugly chick here on my phone. Swipe. Jimmy pass, Ian pass on this game. There's no way in hell I'm betting this hockey game. I'm not laying 300 with Nashville, and there's no way I'm endorsing Arizona. And I'll continue to give Nashville credit. They're playing really well right now. I will finally admit they're playing some good hockey, and obviously this is a game where they should take care of business. But for me, not at this price. Andrew, what are your thoughts?
I'll tell you what, I've been Andrew Totals today, and I'll stick with my name I just created for myself, and I'll say I'm actually looking towards the under in this game. Pretty much like this team in Arizona, they're 1-12-1. And for me, even having a good defensive performance is a win for them. It's sad to say, not getting blown out is a win for them. Covering the puck line plus 1.5 should be a win in their locker room. Of course, the players aren't going to think of it like that. But yesterday's game was kind of funny because if you look at it, and this is something that I saw Alex B. Smith retweet, that we actually saw Arizona out dangerous scoring opportunity the Chicago Blackhawks. They had a higher time, a lot more time spent in the home plate and dangerous area for the Blackhawks than the Blackhawks did against them. The Coyotes played a pretty good game, and they played well defensively. And we've been talking a lot about back-to-backs. That's what happens a lot on the Saturday slate. A lot of times these teams that play Friday, they have to play again on Saturday. And even though, it might be a spot to say, you know what, we're going to see the goal light go off quite a bit. I think it's kind of the opposite here. And I think in general, Nashville gets back to old-fashioned Nashville. And I think Arizona continues to try and just wear teams down. They are not going to be able to play pond hockey against any team. They don't have the talent for it. They can't do it. They have to be able to wear teams down, be physical, stay out of the box. And if you notice, Arizona, I can't believe I'm even saying this. I've watched a little bit of their games, and the only reason why I'm watching some of their games because I know someone on the team, but they turned into more of a dump and chase style of team. And I don't know why they were carrying the puck in the zone ever, Ian, but dumping and chasing has really helped them because it's helping them maintain possession. And one interesting thing about this Arizona team is if you look down their roster, I was looking at it this morning, they've actually got a tall team and a heavy team, a lot of weight on that team. So if you dump the puck in and you go, hit some bodies into the boards, at least you can gather and maintain possession. So I kind of like the under in this game, but chances are I won't be hit and confirm on the bet slip.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's just not something that I'm willing to. It is a tricky spot for now. Is Arizona good enough to win? They haven't won on the road, but it's Nashville off a very long road trip, and this was a long one through Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Chicago, Dallas, St. Louis, and now you're back home. I mean, this is definitely an Arizona spot, but are they good enough to take advantage of it? And even though Arizona's on the back-to-back too, it's a long road trip coming home for Nashville against a team that's not going to excite them all that much. It does concern you, but I don't know if Arizona's good enough to take advantage of it. That's
Ian, I gotta jump in here. You and I are watching. We're watching lots of sports. I know you're getting ready to watch college, and I'm ready to watch college basketball and everything. But we both love the CFL. Man, fumble off the kickoff, recovered by Winnipeg, instant touchdown for them. They're up 6-0, about to kick that extra. Unbelievable. Yeah. I'm on Montreal plus 6.5. Lots of key guys out for Winnipeg there, and they fumble the kickoff to start off the game. Not a good start, man.
Well, the thing is with games like that is when there's people out of the lineup, and it's obviously a must-win game for Montreal. It's an important game for them. Pressure comes with it, though, and maybe you think it's going to be easy, and Winnipeg's playing loose. And the one thing you can't do against backup quarterback, a lot of rested players on both sides of the football for Winnipeg is make mistakes like that.
Yeah.
That's what can put you in trouble.
Especially at home, bad start to the game. You want to get your crowd into it early.
Yeah.
And I got to say, if we're talking about CFL real quick, I know we got to get the show going.
Yeah.
I recently got tickets to the Grey Cup. I'm super excited to go. I've talked about it with you off air.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Every single hotel is sold out in Hamilton. And I didn't even know it was really possible to do this, but well, I knew you could hold hotels, but it seems like every single fan base in the league is holding a hotel room right now because pretty much every hotel in downtown Hamilton is sold out.
Yes.
I'm looking at an Airbnb like 15 minutes away from downtown. It's crazy. I was gonna reach out to you for any recommendations.
I do the B&B anyway for most places these days. Wherever.
Yeah, I like Airbnb. For me, I'm more of an Airbnb
Vegas will
guy.
still do the hotel, but
yeah, I like Airbnbs if I'm staying for like an extended stay. Like when I went to Montreal, I was there for like 4 nights, I think.
Yeah.
So I did that, but for Hamilton, I'm only going to be there for a night or two. But
Yep.
man, the entire town is sold out of hotels. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be bumping that week for sure. Even hopefully the Ticats are in there, but that's another story. Philadelphia and
I don't
Dallas.
want to get you going on that.
No, I don't want to get going on that either. Dallas minus 160, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. Should be interesting to see how this one goes here. Yes, Andrew is coming to Hamilton. Terry Edelman. You'll be able to meet Terry Edelman. You're right, because he's from Hamilton as well. So there you go.
Have you guys met before?
I have not, actually, believe it or not, which is crazy because we're in the same area. But yeah, we'll set something up, Terry, when Andrew's in town. I think we'll maybe set up a way to meet without away from the game, aside from the game. Like I'm gonna, stop in, say hello to Andrew because I got shit going on that day with my season ticket group and their families and their people. But we'll see Andrew still at the stadium at some point during that game. But away from that, we'll schedule something. Andrew, Terry, maybe, and we'll meet up aside from the Grey Cup.
Yeah, get some lunch or something.
Andrew's in, like a lunch or at a bar someplace for a couple hours and just meet up. We'll do that. We'll plan it.
I'll come back to the Airbnb to my girlfriend where all three of us just get loaded. It's just
I don't know. We still got shows and work to do, I think, that weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so we're going to have to keep it in check a little bit. Speaking of keeping it in check, Dallas has to keep it in check right now because things are falling off the rails for them. They're minus 160 against Philadelphia, 5.5 the total. Players only meeting after the last game. Rick Bowness saying, calm down. We know what the problem is. We're going to fix it. That's what he said that like 5 times in his press conference the other night. We know what the problem is. We're going to fix it.
Well, the problem is you can't score.
That's the problem, yeah. Someone's got to put a puck in the net. Where's Seguin? Where's Ben? Where's these fucking guys that you rely on here to put the puck in the net for this team? It's not happening right now. What's Jason Robertson? What a disappointment for him. He had a great year last year for the Dallas Stars, but there's a lot of guys shooting blanks right now for this team. Seguin's leading the team with goals, and he's got 4. That's not saying much. Pavelski's only got 3. Ben only has 2. Jason Robertson has 1 goal, and this is a guy that was an offensive dynamo for the Stars down the stretch last year. So, yeah, they might bring the effort. They might bring the fire. They might bring the urgency, the desperation after the players-only meeting. That doesn't mean I'm ready to lay minus 160 with them, and I'm not laying minus 160 with them. I'm off this game entirely, side and total. Andrew, Flyers and Stars.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned a couple of times about how I kind of wasn't really respecting this Flyers team. It'd be a value spot. It's a pretty good spot for them. I mean, let's be honest. I think I'm tired of seeing these minus 140s or 50s or 60s even for this Dallas Stars team when they score 2 goals a game and every game that they win is decided by 1 goal. I can't do it. I don't want to be involved in this game. I'll be honest. There's just too much in this game that I don't really want to mess with. Talk about that coaches meeting happening after that game previously. The players only. You never know what's going to come out of stuff like that. All I know is that when Dallas is playing their best game, they play better defensively. They are not a team that I expect when they get hot and they start playing good hockey to start winning 5-3 hockey games. I'm sure both you and I can agree on that. So I want to lean towards the under here, but the Flyers, they've been playing a lot recently. Dallas is desperate for some scoring. It's a watch and learn game for me. Martin Jones is on fire, Alan says.
Yeah, and you're right. It's going to be him because it was Hart last night, so I'm almost positive it's going to be Martin Jones tonight in net against Anton. Yeah, it's Anton Udobin, by the way, for Dallas in this game. But you're right. I mean, he's been good. There's another, I got to admit that Nashville's playing well, and I've hated them for a long time. And I got to admit that Martin Jones is playing well, and I've hated his game for a long time. So you got to admit when teams and certain players are playing well, and right now Martin Jones is playing well in net for the Philadelphia Flyers this year. San Jose, Colorado. Colorado minus 240, home favorites, 6 the total, shaded to the under in this game. Man, what a beatdown over Vancouver the other night, 7-1. No McKinnon, no problem for Colorado. Very impressive win. And they've still got, it's not just McKinnon, Bo Byram, left the game with a head injury, although the good news is not serious. They expect him to play here tonight against Colorado. San Jose Sharks, you got to give them credit too. They're finally getting a lot of their COVID-19 absent players back. They removed 7 of them from the COVID-19 list. Vlasic, Carlson, a bunch of them as well up front, coming back in the lineup here for the San Jose Sharks. So they're about to get a lot healthier now here as they enter this game against the Colorado Avalanche. Timo Meyer's another one. He had been out for a while. Matt Nieto. They're getting a lot of their artillery back, San Jose, so that's a good thing. Can they do enough to get the win here against Colorado? They're 1-3 their last 4 games. The San Jose Sharks. They did beat Calgary, but fell to the Jets 4-1 in their last game. Colorado, was that a sign of them maybe figuring it out, getting the ball rolling just a little bit? We'll have to wait and see on that one. But the Sharks have it's been a nightmare playing this Colorado team here in this building. They're 2-8 the last 10 meetings, 7 straight losses in Denver for the San Jose Sharks against the Colorado Avalanche. So probably a game Colorado wins. I would lean to the over here. We've seen some over series history. The last long term, the series has definitely trended toward the over. I don't know if I trust Aiden Hill. His play hasn't been as good the last few starts as it was early in the year. Colorado exploded offensively the other night against Vancouver, so I would lean over the total in this one, Sharks and Avs. Andrew, what do you think?
Well, I got to say that was an impressive performance, like you said, from the Colorado Avalanche, where a lot of people were kind of counting them out and saying that it might be a tough spot for them. They had a bunch of injuries, several guys out for them, and it's almost like a grocery list receipt for the San Jose Sharks for guys returning from COVID protocol, injuries in general. And I think that just from a team perspective, you kind of get a little more pep in your step, and you're kind of excited to have all those guys back, and it does mean something offensively. And the funny thing is getting guys like Vlasic back and Carlson back. You might think that would help the San Jose Sharks defensively, but let's not forget, even a guy like Marc-Edouard Vlasic, he's somebody that can push the pace and jump into the rush, or at least push the puck up the ice. So he's a veteran defenseman. I feel like we'll see some goals tonight. We got lots of guys return to the lineup. I'm right there with you. I don't think it takes time for these guys to settle back in. I feel like they're anxious, ready to go, hit the morning skate. And Colorado off a game where they put up 7 goals. Let's be honest, Colorado hasn't had a great start to the year. And based off how they ended last season, remember that McKinnon interview in the playoffs, they're pissed. I mean, they're acting like they haven't won anything. Their team is like top 3 or 4 cup favorites for the past 3 years. And obviously they've had some injuries, but I see a lot of losses on their last 10, 12 games here, and they got to start stringing something together, but I feel like they do so with scoring some goals. So I like the over here. I don't even want to go with Colorado puck line just because I feel like the odds aren't even good enough. So I'll just stick with the over, potentially even a team total over for Calgary or Colorado, but I feel like we'll get a few from both teams. And I got to say, Ian, last year or 2 years ago, is this a 6.5? I mean, I don't think we see any 6.5s these days anymore. There's barely any.
Not many. And because we have seen the regression in scoring this year, and look, I'll bring up the numbers, but I know for a fact, we're still, in terms of the overall league numbers this year, we are at, it's not huge, but it's still 108-92 to the under, 54% this year. So 108-92 to the under. That is where we're at in the National Hockey League this year. 54% unders, 108-92. So the unders have been cashing more often, but not at a huge percentage, but enough where you're seeing the median total drop a little bit, and you're not seeing as many of those 6.5s, no question. So that definitely is playing a part in the fact that we're not seeing as many of the 6.5s, the higher end of the total spectrum. Vancouver and Vegas. We've got Vegas minus 145, home favorites, 5.5 the total. Travis Green pissed off. Bo Horvat pissed. They should be. That was embarrassing against Colorado. Now, Vancouver's struggling, and Colorado's a good team, but still, to lose 7-1. Very poor. 2-6 the last 8 games for Vancouver. Disappointing. I thought this team was going to be much better. They still could be. I still think the talent's there on this team, but they got to shore it up defensively big time. They unfortunately they left Thatcher Demko hanging out to dry in that game. We can't really put it on his shoulders. You would think Vancouver comes back with a strong effort tonight, but does that mean I'm ready to take Vancouver? No. I mean, Vegas has shown me enough now. With Pacioretty out, with Stone out, with Carlson out, I'm impressed. I mean, this team has pushed forward. They've won 7 of their last 9 games, back-to-back at home against Seattle and Minnesota. And Peter DeBoer said the bus has been driven by our goaltenders and our leadership. We have had guys that have been able to step up and have taken advantage of opportunities and increased ice time that they've been given with all these injuries. And that's what a good team does, in spite of all kinds of injuries. And it's not just the forwards. Don't forget about, Zach Whitecloud's been out for a long period of time on the blue line for this Vegas Golden Knights team. And Alec Martinez actually might be out tonight because he took a cut, the last game by a skate. So we'll see if he play. I get the feeling he's going to play, though. He's pretty tough hombre, Alec Martinez. So wouldn't surprise me to see him on the ice here in this game. We will see if he is indeed playing. But there's just two teams at totally different confidence levels right now. The under's also been a strong series trender here. The under 4-1 in the last 5 meetings, 6-2 to the under in Vegas in the last 8 meetings. And you got to believe Demko from the goaltender out, Vancouver's going to try to defend better, take care of their own zone. They got to be ashamed about giving up 7 goals the other night. So this could be an under this one. And look, for Vancouver, I'm leery of backing them right now until I see some tangible improvement. And all Vegas has done is gut through these injuries, got through being shorthanded, and still find ways to win games as of late. And you got to give the Golden Knights credit for that. So with lean here for me to still to Vegas, but maybe a game that I probably don't get involved with. Andrew, Vancouver, Vegas.
Well, let's not forget, it took a little while for Vegas to get going without these guys. Those key guys haven't been out for just 1 or 2 days. They've been out for a long time now, and I guess it took a little while for them to adjust. They had that East Coast road trip that didn't go well for them, and then they kind of get home and they started to win some games. One thing about Vancouver I found interesting is that I thought that they had plenty of options all over the ice. Turns out, Ian, they don't. It really turns out they don't. I mean, JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, even Connor Garland contributing when he can. But I don't know. A lot of the times that I look at certain teams, I love to see what the third line can do. What can some of these other guys do that don't make the highlights? And I just don't see that much out of the Vancouver Canucks. Also thought they would be an over team this year. I figured they would start as an under team and then start to get the chemistry going and develop into more of an over team. But they haven't really done that. They've struggled to score goals consistently. Even in games where they're keeping their opponent to the outside, they're giving up goals late in the game. I'd look towards the home team as well in this game, but I don't love the price, so I'm going to stay off most likely. But I think that this should be a real test here for us to find out what kind of team Vancouver are, because if they lose this game by margin, it's not good for them right now.
No, you're right about that, and we'll see because of Vancouver. But again, I know they're going to be angry and fired up and looking for a prideful effort here, but will it be enough is the big question, because they've definitely had struggle. They've struggled in all areas. Some games they've struggled to put the puck in the net. Some nights it's been defensive play, which certainly was the case against Colorado. So just not a complete game any times at any recent game from the Vancouver Canucks. All right, the final game on this massive 13-game slate, Minnesota Wild, Seattle Kraken. Minnesota -115 to -120. Road favorites in this game. The total 5.5 across the board. Seattle's having a tough time right now, and Philip Grubauer's having a tough time. These are not Philip Grubauer numbers, not the numbers of last year. From him in between the pipes. And we'll have to see if he even gets the nod here with how he's been struggling. They might go to Chris Drieger tonight instead, give him a break. But to see Grubauer at 4-6, 3.17 goals against average, .882 save percentage, gave up 5 goals against Anaheim in the 7-4 loss. Remember, there were 2 empty net goals, so he really only gave up 5 in that game. It is definitely disappointing here to see how he's played. Minnesota, the last time they actually played Seattle was in this building just a couple weeks ago. Now they're back here in Seattle, and the Kraken won that game by a score of 4-1. You got Minnesota off a 3-2 loss to Vegas in their last game. I have said from the onset, Seattle's not really a team I'm looking to bet against at home. I might make an exception tonight. I certainly don't want to back Seattle here with the issues they've had. They've struggled. They've lost 3 in a row now. They're the only team to lose to Arizona this year. Keep that in mind as well. And I thought they'd have a good defensive foundation, and we haven't seen that. And it's shown in their totals as well. They've given up 5, 4, 7 in their last 3 games. This Kraken team, they've gone over the total in 5 straight games. And I think this game could go over the total. It's 5.5. Minnesota's 4-1 to the over their last 5 games. And I think offensively, they might be able to do some damage here with just the downtrodden defensive play we've seen from the Kraken, and certainly shaky goaltending from Grubauer in particular. And even if it's Drieger in net, I think Minnesota can find some goals here. So I lean to Minnesota, and I like the over more than the side, actually, but I lean Minnesota as well, and I definitely like over 5.5 here. Andrew, Minnesota, Seattle.
Yeah, got to give some credit to Terry when he was on the show with you and I. He didn't just give out wild puck line; he gave them out -2.5, and they got it done. So,
in that Arizona game,
in that Arizona
well done,
game,
Terry.
Yeah.
Your homer ways paid off for you, literally.
Against an Arizona team that's pretty much losing to everybody. But yeah, I mean, all the guys in the chat, what they're saying right now is very true. I don't think that the odds should be what they are right now. I've been saying it on this show for a while now. All these websites I look at for the advanced analytics, slowly but surely, every single game Seattle plays, Ian, we're starting to see that Seattle team work their way down the rankings. They had one of the best shooting percentages in the league. They had one of the best expected goal percentages in the league. Dangerous scoring chances were in their favor. Those numbers can't last. Those numbers will not stick around, and we're starting to see that. Mix in some sloppy defensive play. Mix in a goaltender that's not playing as well as we all know he can play, and you get a team that's really not playing as good as they were to start the season off for them on their road trip, and I felt like it was kind of deceiving for a lot of people. I like the Wild here. I'm going to jump in on their team total. I got a plus price here on the over 3.5 for their team total at like +120 or something like that. So that's what I locked in.
All right, like in Minnesota, and specifically the team total, which is 3.5 here at a nice plus price between the Minnesota Wild and the Seattle Kraken. Should be an interesting late night affair. It's still fun to watch games at Climate Pledge Arena, but not exactly that home success lately that they had earlier in the season. They've dropped two of their last 3 on home ice. They've still played better at home than on the road, but definitely not perfect at home. Seattle 3-3 at home this year, and Minnesota actually 5-3 away from home this year. The Wild coming into this game, and see if Seattle can iron out some of their defensive issues tonight. Great stuff with Andrew McInnis. That is the Saturday card. 13 games. We broke down every single game. No one else is doing that in terms of a hockey show on the weekends, but the Ice Guys.
Especially not with the voice I have right now.
Yeah, exactly. And Andrew persevering through a voice that's still gradually making its way back to full strength. So great stuff. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Before we wrap up the show, as always, we wrap it up with best bets. Andrew McInnis, what do you like for your Saturday best bet?
Best bet, we'll take a look down the card here. There was one that I had circled that I think I'm going to go with, and I'm going to probably get some laughs from the guys in the live chat here for it being in a game involving the Montreal Canadiens, but I've got a good read on them right now, I think. I'm looking at the over 5.5 Red Wings Canadiens. Hopefully, you mentioned it earlier in the show, Montreal couldn't put back-to-back games in order that were that strong of games. I feel like this is a team that they're going to feel good against. They're going for that sweep, and Detroit plays much better at home here, so I expect some goals in this game.
All right, Montreal-Detroit, over 5.5, -105 for Andrew with his best bet here in this one. My best bet is I'm going to go with that late game. I'm going to go with Minnesota-Seattle, over 5.5 in this one. Kraken do play with great energy at home. I mean, the scoring goals they've been able to do on home ice, we've seen it. But again, the defensive game has eroded. The goaltending is definitely struggling a bit with confidence at the moment. Total is reasonable, 5.5. Let's go with the Wild and the Kraken, over 5.5 for my best bet for this Saturday. NHL card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for joining us live. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live on YouTube 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the podcast if you can't watch the Ice Guys live. For Andrew McGinnis, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll see you again tomorrow on Sunday, right here for another edition of the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.